This is Starship, the world's most powerful rocket, on its second test flight, because its first one didn't really end very well. And although this one had a similar fiery demise, it turned out to be a lot more successful, so I will do a recap of the launch. During a warm sunrise on the 18th of November 2023, the sleepy city of Brownsville, Texas was awoken by 33 powerful rocket engines roaring to life. People held their breaths as the massive rocket leapt off the launch pad. During the first test, the power of the rocket engines actually destroyed the ground below the launch pad. But now SpaceX has installed a water deluge system which dampens the energy of the rocket. Starship had successfully launched and cleared the tower. Its next objective was to reach max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure. Then it needed to achieve stage separation, then reach space, then survive re-entering the atmosphere, and land in Hawaii. At this point in time, in the vehicle's previous launch, the hydraulic power unit exploded, meaning that the vehicle couldn't be controlled properly. But this prototype uses much more precise and redundant electric motors, which some people say come from Teslas. As the vehicle pitches downrange, you start to notice that some of the heat shield tiles on the Starship have started to fall off. At first, people were worried that the Starship would not be able to survive re-entry and therefore land in Hawaii. Most of these fears came from the Columbia accident in 2003, when a space shuttle had a missing heat shield tile and was incinerated during re-entry. What many people don't know is that another flight of the space shuttle had a missing heat shield tile, but it actually survived. This was because the tile was attached to a steel mounting plate, even though the rest of the space shuttle is mostly made of aluminium, which has a much lower melting point. The Starship, however, is made almost entirely of stainless steel, so if it lost one or two tiles, it should be okay. By now, the rocket has reached supersonic speeds, which means that it's experiencing max Q, where all the air rushing against the rocket is squeezing it down. But luckily, the rocket pushes on. Now, a vapor trail starts to appear, which gives us good insight on the rocket's trajectory. This simulation shows a rocket that isn't on course, it's way too slow. However, this one has a vapor trail that is at 180 degrees with its trajectory. This is a sign that the rocket has an adequate thrust-to-weight ratio and is more than capable of carrying payloads to orbit. Skipping forward a little bit, the rocket is ready to perform stage separation, but not just any old stage separation. This is hot staging, where the second stage engines light whilst the first stage engines are still on, so the rocket doesn't decelerate. Starship performs this perfectly, with some of the booster's engines shutting down and the second stage engines lighting up. And the booster falls away relatively unharmed, because the simulation that I showed earlier was a little bit more exaggerated. This is actually what it's supposed to look like. The second stage accelerates away, whilst the booster does a flip maneuver to try to return to the ocean and do a splashdown. SpaceX never intended to reuse it though, because it's not like this huge booster would survive crashing into the ocean at Mach 4. But that didn't matter, because before it even got close to touching the water, the booster started to flare up, and it very violently exploded, possibly from damage due to hot staging. The upper stage continued to fly for almost 5 minutes, until without warning, it exploded, most likely because the flight termination system, which is essentially a massive bomb strapped to the rocket to blow it up if there's an issue, had been triggered. although with this footage I couldn't exactly see what was wrong. But my best guess is that it didn't really have enough fuel left. In conclusion, here are the primary mission objectives. Most of them were achieved, which is certainly a lot better than the previous test flight, where it didn't even achieve stage separation. And due to the minimal damage to the launch site, I personally think we'll have a third flight by early 2024. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions about my videos, please leave them in the comments below. When do you think our next test flight will be? This has been Head for Science, and I'll see you in the next video.